Welcome incoming CIA Greystone students, as well as members of your support system. Thank you for joining us today for our virtual Green and Gold orientation to discuss student affairs. My name is Allison Stapleton, and I serve as the Assistant Director of Admissions for the CIA at Greystone. Before we begin, I wanted to go over some housekeeping items for this presentation. This presentation is geared towards our associate students enrolling this fall. But if you are watching and you are an admitted student for a later semester or a different program, please feel free to follow along, as the information will be similar for later semesters and programs. If you are a prospective student, feel free to also follow along for helpful information, and be sure to reach out to us so that we can be in touch with you regarding your interest in applying to the CIA. As the world's premier culinary college and leader in the food and hospitality industry, we can't wait until we are finally able to welcome you on our campus to begin this incredible chapter of your life. But for today, we are committed to providing you with all the information you want to know about how the CIA will support you. Today, I'd like to welcome our special guests and thank them for participating. Today, we are joined by Maria Kozula, Assistant Director of Academic Support Services, as well as Jared Snyder, Assistant Dean of Student Affairs. Now, without further ado, let's give them a warm round of virtual applause. Maria?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maria Kozula. Thank you, Allison, for that warm welcome. I'm happy to discuss a brief understanding of what you are about to embark on. So, our first slide shows a little bit about understanding mise en place, our tools for success. So mise en place means everything in its place. And so we're talking about not just your time in the kitchen, but your time in your online classes, your time in your in-person classes, and the ways to prepare to be the most successful that you can. So I'm hoping today to equip you with a couple of tools for that success. As we go through the slides, I would suggest that you take some notes, make sure that you are writing down those questions and sending those in to Allison as well. This is the time to make sure that you're getting all your bases covered so that you have a greater understanding and can come here and jump in and get ready to get started. So with that said, we'll go on to our next slide and I'll start giving you all the information that you need to help you succeed while you're here. So I run the Learning Strategy Center. What does that mean? That means that we have a tutoring center and a library and my office all in one. So we try to utilize the space as well as we can, make it a safe space, a welcoming space where students can come and feel free to ask questions. We work with students on study skills, time management, exam prep. I work individually with students for disability support services. That means that you and I would set up a time to talk. We would discuss things that have been beneficial for you in the past. I have a really great understanding of the curriculum here. So it's been almost 10 years. So I know that sometimes if there's accommodations that you've had in the past, there are other suggestions that we have based on our lab classes and the way that our curriculum is structured. So I always like to meet my students, have a one-on-one conversation, see what was successful for you in the past and where we can go now that you're here with us at Greystone. CIA Cares is also run through my office, and that is an opportunity for our instructors to work directly with our students. And that way it's, I like to call it a safety net. It's an opportunity for us to work with students to make sure that we give them the tools that they need before there's an issue with their grades. So a CIA Cares is an alert. And what that is an instructor will send out a flag and basically saying, you know, I think this student could use some help with their timeline. In culinary fundamentals. I think this student might use some assistance in baking and pastry. So it's not necessarily that you're in trouble. It's an opportunity to keep you and your grades out of trouble. And so we like to have that as you know, a chance for the instructors to work with the students, to work with our tutors, to make sure that everyone is as successful as possible. And we'll move on to our next bit of very important information. We find that it's really helpful for students to understand what a typical day looks like, as well as your support system. And we'll talk a little bit more about your support system coming into this program, but they're going to be very important as well. So a typical class day, you'll come onto campus, you'll have a good breakfast. It's really important that you take advantage of that so that you can start the day fresh and energized. You want to be in your kitchen or your bake shop before 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is when class starts. If you are there at 7 a.m. on the dot, you are late. So you always want to be a couple minutes early. Make sure your mise en place, everything in its place, is ready to go. You'll meet in the kitchen, you'll set up your station, and then you'll have stewarding responsibilities. So each person will have a chance to show their leadership skills, whether it's being in charge of cleaning, whether it's being in charge of picking up equipment. Then at 7 a.m., you'll turn in your homework assignments. You'll have a brief lecture from chef, depending on the topic of that day. Review your timelines, meet with your teammates, just kind of get everything organized and ready to go. At 8 o'clock, production will start, depending on whatever kitchen you're in. And that will also include chef demonstrations. And so chef will always take an opportunity to kind of give you a preview of what you're going to be doing in the kitchen. Your job on the other end for that mise en place is making sure that you've read your recipes, you've done your reading, you understand them. And this is just a way to reiterate that information, to front load it right at the get-go so you know and are refreshed on what you're going to be doing in class that day. And then after 8 o'clock, you will work from 8 to noon. Production time ends, and then all food is up for evaluation and presented to the faculty. So each student will be given an opportunity to have what's called a window. And whatever you're producing that day, chef will have an opportunity to review it and give you feedback right then and there. So you know where your areas of need may be and where you're excelling. Okay, so that immediate feedback is really helpful for our students. From 12 to 12:30, you'll have lunch with your classmates. And then 12:30, you'll have your final evaluation for your class, and then you'll wrap up with your faculty. He or she may need to give you some information that's pertinent to class the next day. It might be an opportunity for you to meet with your teammates to make sure that you're all on the same page and prepared for class tomorrow. At 1 o'clock, you're responsible for cleaning up the kitchen or the bake shop and making sure that everything is set for tomorrow, for the next day, so that your mise en place is ready to go. At 1:30, class concludes for the day. So that's what a typical kitchen day will look like, whether you're in the bake shop or whether you're in the culinary side of the kitchen. And then there are some things that are really important to remember. And I like to provide friendly reminders, and I will continue to provide those friendly reminders for you throughout your entire time here at Greystone. But right off the bat, I want to make sure, whether you're coming to us from high school, whether you're coming to us with a little bit of college, whether you've graduated college, whether you've been in the workforce, there's always some things that are key that I find that are really helpful for our students to succeed here at Greystone. The first one is self-advocacy. So you are going to be your biggest cheerleader, and you need to be your biggest cheerleader. So that means if there is something that is unclear, you want to make sure you're asking. If you're confused about something, you want to make sure that you're speaking up. And that includes referral. So if you come to me on the first day and are telling me that you're feeling a little lost, that you don't understand your schedule, I will help you through that. If you come to me and you're honest and say, you know what, maybe I'm feeling a little homesick. My area of expertise is not counseling, but we have 2 fabulous counselors that can work with you here on campus. So that referral process is what we can do as well. But knowing that you can come to your admissions counselors, knowing you can come to me, knowing I have tutors here that will answer questions, will always send you to the right place. But we won't know if you need help if you don't speak up. So that's really important. Staying on top of your homework. It's so much easier to get ahead than it is to play catch up. So I like to remind my students that you all start with A's, right? And it's your job to keep it. So what are you going to do to maintain those solid grades? Because every time that assignment gets missed or we don't speak up because we don't understand something, that's when we start to see that slide, and that's what we want to avoid, okay? Studying. If you are out of practice, or if you are not accustomed to dedicating time to studying, that is definitely something that I can help you work on. You can study with a tutor, you can study on your own, you can study with your classmates, but figuring out what's going to be the most beneficial and work the best for you is really important. And if that means sitting down and talking through what kind of learning style you have, we can do that as well. Reviewing your materials and your mental mise en place for the next day. I mentioned that when you come into class, that lecture time is an opportunity, and that demonstration time is to reiterate what you've already sort of taken in through your homework and through your mental mise en place for the day. So you want to make sure that you're understanding everything that you're going into, as far as recipes, as far as menu items, and that's where that extra time and effort comes in with the homework and the studying. I do also like to emphasize how important it is that you have a balance here. I also happen to be the yoga teacher, so balance is pretty much my thing. So you want to make sure that in addition to all that homework and studying time, that you are making time to make friends, to have a good time, to exercise. I know in an ideal situation, we'd all be independently wealthy, and some of you may have to work. That's understandable, but you want to make sure that you're balancing that out. Your job, if you're coming here, really is to be a student. It will be so much more to your benefit, and you'll be able to really soak in the experience if you are able to find that work-life balance. And again, if that's something that you need assistance with, our counselors are here to help you. I'm here to help you with time management. And look to your support network. Your support network is really critical, whether that's mom and dad, whether that's partner, whether that's friend, whoever that may be. It's important for them to understand what you're about to embark on. And I find that a lot of students are surprised how immersed they get here and what a great time it is, but it's also a lot of hard work as well. The last thing to remember is disability support services. So in my time here, I find a lot of students begin the program and are super passionate or super excited and think, I'm going to do this on my own. And I honor that and I respect that, but I also kind of remind my students, you know, there are tools that I can equip you with being here for such a long time and working with so many students that you may not have even thought of. So if you've had disability support services in the past, I think it would be great for us to meet, for us to discuss your options, for you to see what's available, and then you can decide if you want to use them. But I always say it's better to have those accommodations and those support services in place, have them and not need them, than need them and not have them. Okay. What can I do to help? So this is geared towards your support system. So I know we have some partners, parents, friends, family, whoever you have as your support system on this awesome orientation call. So some things for you to remember. You want to remind your students that there are resources that are available on campus. That's really one of the great benefits of being on a small campus, is you can walk into any of our offices, and if we can't help you, we're going to send you to someone who can, and we're going to get to know you really, really well. And so that is to your benefit. So remind your student, son, daughter, friend, partner, that they have those opportunities if they need help. Words of encouragement and affirmation are going to go a long way. So if a student calls you and says, I'm struggling, make sure that you're there to listen. Make sure that you're there to hear and give them that push in the positive direction. Make it comfortable to be open and honest. These classes are really difficult sometimes. And so, you know, if your son or daughter or partner has been successful in the past and all of a sudden they find themselves struggling, that might be new to them, right? Recognize that their schedule is busy. So one of the things I do with students when I work with them in time management is I remind them that you also need to set aside time for family, but there also needs to be an understanding that phone calls and text messages can't get answered during class. You're actually not allowed to have your cell phone in the kitchen. It needs to be away. So making sure that there's an understanding of the schedule as well is going to be really helpful for everybody involved. Support their autonomy and their independence, and be cognizant of privacy rights. So as a college student, you have the right to your information and your records. So if that means partner, mom, and dad support system want to have access to that, it has to come from you first. And so that might be something that might be a little difficult for mom and dad, again, or partner, but that is something that comes with coming to college and also part of being an adult, taking on those responsibilities. If you would like those individuals to be a part of grade information and financial information and discipline information, all that good stuff, then there's definitely forms that you will be filling out for us when you get to us, okay? I think that's it for that slide, for that support system. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview. We're so glad that you're going to be here, and we're thrilled to have all of you join us in the fall. If there's anything that you are anxious about, or anything that you just, I would feel better if I understood, insert topic there, feel free to reach out to me, place one of the questions in the Q&A. And like Allison said at the beginning, if I need to reach out to you individually, I'm more than happy to do that. We can meet virtually through Teams, or I can give you a call on the phone. But more importantly, we're just so happy to have you here. Greystone is a beautiful place, and we can't wait to have you be a part of it. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass it over now to our next presenter. I'm going to mute and turn off my video, but I will still be here, I promise.
Good afternoon. I'm Jared Snyder. I'm the Assistant Dean of Student Affairs here at the CI Greystone, and I'm here to welcome you to our new family. My team and myself are very excited to having you on campus, and with my team and we support your success outside of the classroom through residence life, through student programming, through student leadership opportunities, and welcoming you through your orientation and your eventual commencement in just a few months from now. As we approach the fall time, I know a lot of questions are up in the air that you have about the safety of campus and what precautions we are taking to make sure that when you and your students come to campus, they are well cared for while they're here. If you look on the next slide, right in front of us, this is taken this morning. This is the front doors of the Greystone building. This is where you, every day when you're in class, will come and be subject to a temperature and daily set of questions and screened into the building. All students, faculty, and staff must wear an approved mask in the building, queue up, socially distanced without 6 feet between each other, and interact with our security team to be screened in and swiped into the building. As we approach through those main doors, you'll see, as at the Greystone campus, there is bright pink gaffing tape absolutely everywhere. In the main atrium here, right in front of the security desk, there will be a pink X and a square. That is where we register your temperature on a thermal camera as you approach the building. So what we'll need you to do is take the instructions from the security officer at that table, make sure you are sanitizing your hands on the way in, and wait for them to come and approach you and have you sign in to the campus each day. You'll be issued a colored sticker. My camera's a bit shallow here, but on my shirt there's going to be a colored circle sticker that changes every day that signifies to the faculty, staff, and other students that you have been cleared for the day and are officially welcome into the building. As we approach our next slide, you will see on this some of the precautions that we're putting in place for our teaching kitchen. As part of your uniform for the fall semester, we are swapping out the toques that are so important to our heritage and replacing those with some cloth skull caps. What we've found in the 2 months that we have been in operation here in California is that the toques that we have are quite hot in the kitchen. And so in order for us to support the masks as well as the plexi face shields that are required in the kitchen classes, we found the skull caps were a better resource for us. So as part of your uniform kit, you will be issued 3 of those wonderful cloth skull caps that will be as part of your uniform pack instead of the toques. We are also setting through all of our campus social distancing criteria, and as I mentioned, there is going to be pink gaffing tape in the teaching kitchen. There's also on the next slide going to be pink gaffing tape on tables and chairs throughout the Greystone building. These will provide you specific areas on campus where you are permitted to sit and to serve your meals and to socialize with other students on campus while you're doing that. Each of those spaces are cleaned periodically in the course of the day to make sure that that is a clean and sanitized space for you. While you're in the Greystone building, it is imperative that you wear the masks that you are expected to wear. As part of your orientation, you will be issued 3 cloth masks, reusable and washable, that will be part of your uniform for the fall. So it is expected that you please wear and cycle those out. And anytime you're in the Greystone building, anytime you're in the residence halls, common areas, we need to make sure you're wearing those masks, as it's really important of the precautions that we put in place. Before you arrive, Maria mentioned a lot about the mise en place that's so important. In a few weeks, you'll receive a handful of emails from the college that are really meant to solidify the COVID response that we really want you to have. The first and foremost, you're going to receive a CIA Safe Pledge. It is a series of agreements and pledges that you will maintain social distancing and communicate things that are going on in your life that may impact the safety of our campus. And you'll need to complete that, as well as a CIA COVID-19 medical pre-screening survey that will ask you questions about your histories in terms of whether you have been exposed to anybody or are currently symptomatic. What that will do is provide my team and our health services team some guidance and support to communicate with you one-on-one on what you will need to make sure you provide to us to make sure that campus is a safe one for when you do arrive. The other thing that you are going to receive in the next week or so is access to an online pre-arrival orientation. This orientation will immensely answer a lot of your questions about life on campus, additional more in-depth information about the PPE and social distancing requirements, as well as helpful information about additional resources on campus from all of our departments, any online learning that you'll be doing, and it is hopeful that you will complete this before you arrive to campus. As part of this module, you will also be asked to complete what we call Student Success. This is an alcohol and drug education that we want you to be aware of before you come to campus, because in our industry, we want to make sure that you are aware of some of the risks, as well as some of the expectations when it comes to how those two things, alcohol and drugs, do impact your experience on campus. You will also be part of that, asked to complete some sexual misconduct and Title IX training, and it is my hope that as you come to campus, that is complete. On the next slide, you will talk to our students about arriving to campus. For those students who have chosen to live in our on-campus housing and moving into campus housing on September 7th, your appointments that you should have all been emailed about last week will open up through your StarRes portal. These will be available starting August 17th, and this will allow you to schedule a time in which you can check into housing, get cleared through those two forms and documentation that I just mentioned, and make sure you can access your keys and your room in a timely manner. As we bring our students to campus, there is only one guest that may accompany each student in the vehicle that they're bringing with them on campus. All members of that household that are in that vehicle, so you plus one person, will be subject to temperature check and a COVID screening questions at that point of service. You will most likely see me at that table asking you questions and making sure that we only have you plus your one guest on campus. When you're on campus, including your guests, those masks will be required for all persons. And as you are unloading your vehicles, the individual who is the guest to campus will and is able to assist in unloading the vehicle out of the car, but only students may enter the residence halls. It is really important for the sake of our current students who are going to be here on campus and our new students who are coming in that we do limit the amount of individuals that are in and out of our halls as a precaution. If you are on the next slide, coming to campus as a non-residential student, it is important that you read very carefully the orientation schedule that you'll receive in about a week, as your orientation will start at different times. The baking and pastry students will arrive a little bit earlier than our culinary arts students, and that is by design. What we want you to do is to be able to come in a smooth, orderly, socially distanced way, get checked in for the medical pre-screening, get checked into campus, and move you through your in-person orientation content as quickly and as seamlessly and as safely as possible. It is important to understand that that schedule will provide specific details on your arrival time. So it's going to be really important as you receive that. Just make sure you check what group you're going to be in. To facilitate that, your first meal on campus for the 8th, you will have breakfast available on our herb terrace at the live fire grill. What that will be is a lot of information and food provided to you at that time, get you screened in and ready to begin your day. After you finish your meal, based on the time that you have, you must check in at that medical pre-screening to confirm completion. If you have completed that on the day prior because you live in housing, you'll get a pretty quick congratulations, let's move you into your temperature screening. But if you are a commuter student, it's important that you do check in and make sure that your mise en place, all of your information is complete so that we can move you into the orientation check-in process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jared and Maria. That was extremely informative and very, very helpful for our students, I'm sure. Because of it being so informative, we have had a ton of great questions come in already. So if I could just have y'all's help with that, and I will do my best to direct it to the correct individual. So Jared, so with everything, you know, going on in the current climate, I'm sure our student activities look a little different than before. What are some ways that students are connecting now outside of class? If you wouldn't mind, I think your video's off, so I know that we'd like to see your face.
Not a problem. I'm very happy to help. So what we've learned in the last couple months is can fill a book, but what I'll tell you is that while the expectations for social engagement are socially distant, they are by no means disconnected. At campus, especially for our new students, you'll have a lot of resources available, not only to connect with the faculty and staff on campus, but also to connect with your fellow classmates. Each of you are going to be assigned as part of your online orientation what we call our SALT mentors. SALT stands for Student Adjustment and Leadership Team, and they are going to be a more senior student to this campus who has been around the block, who can provide guidance and assistance one-on-one with you as you are adapting and adjusting to our campus. Another group on campus that you're going to have a lot of close contact with are our resident assistants. These are more upper class students who are living in our residence halls, who are providing resources and guidance, as well as some programming activities for you to keep you entertained and engaged while you're living in our halls. We will also have our student SPICE board, which is student programming involvement and community engagement, and that board is super jazzed to have you guys connected on campus, and they do a lot of programming to support the things that interest you on campus. We have currently a left-handed raffle that we're supporting Left-Handed Awareness Month. We have done a lot of what we call deployable kits, where there'll be different programs that students will be able to take a group of a kit with them, go back to their residences, go back to their homes, connect with other students through Microsoft Teams, and then be led through an activity in that way. We are also having a lot of clubs and organizations up and running. Our Wines Club has been very active this semester, doing socially distanced tastings through Teams. Our Tabletop Gaming Club has been very engaged, running a Dungeons and Dragons group that meets every Sunday through Teams. And there's going to be a lot of other wonderful clubs, including an outdoor adventure club that I do advise on this campus to make sure that while we may not be able to take trips outside together, we are actively talking about the out of doors, which is a really great resource for you for wellness and socially distanced activities here in the Valley, but also make sure that you can be educated and updated on different things that are available, especially if you're coming from out of state.
That is awesome. That's so exciting. And I know for our left-handed students, that's extremely. Thanks for including them. That's good. And Maria, I know you've been doing, you've changed your club a little bit. You are one of, and I know she's not going to say this, but she is one of the foremost yoga instructors by far in the Valley, in the Napa Valley, and is coveted, amidst all the very fancy hotels here and resorts. And so she's not only an amazing asset to your learning support, but also keeping you in balance, as she said. So balance is important. And Maria, I know you were mentioning the other day, you've been kind of adjusting that yoga that you usually do outside on the herb terrace at 5 p.m. with, the sun setting. So can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So in a ideal situation, we'd be able to jump right back into that. So we've got some temporary things in place. For the current students, we just sent out a virtual class So I was able to record a class. It was an hour-long session. We broke it up into 3 parts, and we shared that with our current student body since we're not able to have any yoga classes in person just yet. Thank you, Allison, for the resounding resume boost there. So I do teach at off-campus locations as well, but my main passion is here with my students. And so until we can meet outside safely again, we will continue doing virtual classes. We're looking at maybe doing one through Teams, and so that way I could interact and it would be live. So we're going to check to see how many students are interested in that. I am a trained instructor. It's not something I just like to do. And so the time I've been here, it's been awesome. We've had lots and lots of students benefit from the fresh air, from the exercise. One of the things I like to friendly remind our students is that you are constantly around food. So it's really important to make sure that you're getting exercise. And the nice part about living in Northern California is probably 8 months out of the year, 7 months out of the year, we have gorgeous weather. And like Jared said, it's a great opportunity to get outside and exercise. And if there's enough students that are interested, we could work on doing a socially distanced yoga class on the herb terrace. Yeah, it all depends on you guys, what you guys are up for and what you're looking for. But virtual classes have been really fun. I've actually enjoyed still teaching those right now. So.
That's wonderful. Yeah, here at Greystone, we say it's a family. We really mean it. We are definitely a small family here that, you know, we know everyone and we care about you and we care about your holistic well-being. So we are getting a ton of amazing questions in. A lot of questions, Jared, surrounding meals and how that's going to work with the kitchens in the residence halls, and you know, are breakfast and lunch still included? How can you kind of touch on that, and how students are residents are adjusting to that, not having those communal kitchen areas in the residence halls?
Absolutely. And as Allison did just meet, the common kitchens in the residence halls have been taken offline to really comply with CDC recommendations for communal living. So what students do have access to is, one, there are grills available outside on Vineyard Lodge 1 and Vineyard Lodge 2, that if you wanted to use that to prepare additional meals over the weekends or in the afternoons, you're more than welcome to do that. We do ask that you sterilize the grill at the high-touch areas before you use it and after you use it, and make sure you do clean up after yourself. Students will be getting those 2 meals a day on instructional days. And what I will tell you is that, you know, we are a culinary school, and food is something that you are not in a short supply of. So what we can afford to you is that they're going to be receiving a lot of your meals and all of your meals out of the teaching kitchen, out of the Illy Cafe, or out of the Gatehouse restaurant. And for those of you who are getting it from the teaching kitchen, all of that is going to be set up in to-go containers that you can take with you for meals. Whether you choose to eat it in the teaching kitchen, our Ventura Center, our Herb Terrace, take it back to your residence halls or take it with you as you leave the building, that's up to you. And so you can take as much food as you're able to take that day and have access to meals. You also, in your residence halls themselves, each room has a micro fridge combo, and a lot of students will take that extra food from the teaching kitchen and reheat it and use that out of your refrigerator or microwave. We also do allow touchless delivery on campus. So if you do live in the residence halls, you're more than welcome to get food delivered to campus. You just need to maintain social distance as it's delivered, and to make sure that you take that delivery outside of the building.
Wonderful, thank you. And thank you for that clarification. Maria, you are gonna love this question. It's gonna be music to your ears. Is there any advice that you can give a student to get ahead of the game as far as time management goes?
Yes, for sure, 1,000%. So one of the things first questions I ask students when they come to me and are saying, I need to figure out how to get all my homework done, I ask them, what do you use to get organized? Do you use a calendar? Do you use a planner? Do you use your phone? Do you use Post-it notes? So whatever you use is something that we're obviously going to use utilize as a jumping off point. If you use nothing, then I got a whole bunch of recommendations for you. But the first thing is, how do you get yourself organized? That is going to be really, really important. The second question I ask students is, when are you the most productive? So I know for me, I am not a night owl. Everyone kind of makes fun of me. I go to bed before my 4-year-old daughter. I need my sleep. And I know that at a certain time, I'm just not productive anymore. So really taking the time to think about your strengths and focusing on those. So what do you use to plan? When are you the most productive? And the other thing too that I always ask students is which class makes you the most nervous? And the reason why is because human nature, we tend to take the assignments and the classes that make us the most nervous and put them last, when really we need to put them first. So if you're the most nervous, let's say about your math class, start looking at your books. Start reviewing the information that you think may come up. Think about the things that you feel the least comfortable with and start brushing up on those things. And so I think the best way to kind of prepare yourself to get here is to really take a moment and self-reflect on what you can do so that when you get here, this is it, this is your focus. Does that make sense?
That's great. And Jared, again, lots of questions coming in right now about the food situation, meal situation. So I appreciate, I know it's normally it would be a lot of questions, but especially during these times. And they're culinarians, so of course they're going to be asking about food, right? So in regards to the meal plan, usually it's the 2 meals per day. There are some questions about, will it be 3 meals per day in the teaching kitchen? And if not, and with the communal kitchens not being open currently in the residence halls, will that adjust their bill, or how is that working out? I'm not sure if you mentioned about our refrigerator, micro freezer, refrigerator, USB port contraption in each of the rooms. But I know some people are asking about those.
Certainly. So you do get, as part of your meal plan, 2 meals a day. Now, what we will acknowledge is that you, as part of your class schedule, you'll either be an AM student or a PM student. So if you're an AM student, you'll come in for breakfast in the morning after you get screened in, you'll stay for lunch, and at the end of your classes, you should be departing for the day. We have our PM students come in for lunch, and then they stay for dinner, and then at the end of the day around 8 o'clock they do transition out of the building. The reason we want that schedule to be maintained and why you have access to 2 meals is we also need our students to be socially distant in the main building, and so having a good demarcation between the AM students and the PM students really does support that social distance schema. Now, Allison, you are correct. In each of the rooms, so if you have a roommate for the fall, you'll need to work about sharing that space with your roommate. But each residence hall room does have a micro fridge combo that has a microwave on top, has a refrigerator freezer on the bottom, and that is where a lot of our students currently are taking additional food home with them, as well as preparing food on the weekends in that place. In fact, we've done some programming in the residence halls on what food can you actually make out of a microwave. We've baked some cakes. We've done some really good higher level cuisine. And so the resident assistants and residential staff is very happy to work with you on with what limited resources you do have in terms of the microwave as well as the grill, how you can produce exceptional, nutritious, good tasting food out of those opportunities for you.
Great. And are there grocery stores in the area that students can pick up, different things, or what have students been doing for these last few months?
Yeah, I live here in St. Helena, and I will tell you, I see students at the grocery stores constantly. It's one of the perks about living in a small town. We do have 2 primary grocery stores in St. Helena. That's going to be a Safeway, which is your big box Safeway store. There's also a more local vendor called Sunshine Markets that has a little more specialty food and a little more upscale. But I see students in both of those pretty much constantly, and they do have extended hours, so it would be very hard not to get access to that. It's also located only about a mile from the residence halls, so it's something that's easily walkable if you don't have a vehicle on campus. There's also local transportation through the Napa Vine shuttle. But if you are going to be using a mass transit, we do encourage you to wear a mask and make sure you are sanitizing and using good social distancing schemes as you are traveling on those. Most of our students, when you get here, the weather's going to be great. A lot of our students, and self included, do just walk around town, walking to get your groceries, walking to the store, and walking home.
Great. Okay. And Maria, as far as the schedule goes, can you explain a little bit? I know there's some questions coming in. How will I know if I have morning classes or evening classes? Is every class going to be the same time? How do I, how do I make sure I do breakfast and then go to class? I know you touched on that in a couple of those other slides. And I don't know if our host, Ella, could revert back to those slides, if that would help explain that. There's just some questions about, the general schedule for that first semester student.
Sure. So basically the schedule is going to be the same for the students. It will depend on which days you have your kitchen classes. So you will have classes Tuesday through Friday. Mondays will be dedicated to a science lecture. So it will be a shorter day, and you'll be given those dates as soon as you have access to Moodle. So that will all come in time. Oh, perfect, Ella, thank you. So we'll just go back one more slide and it'll show the beginning of the day. Perfect. So 6:30 is when you can arrive on campus for breakfast. If you are in a kitchen class, so kitchen classes will either be Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, Friday. The other 2 days will be for your liberal arts classes. Some of your classes will be online and some of your classes will be in person. If they are in person, they will be in our biggest lecture space to provide the opportunity for social distancing. Once you receive your schedule, it will tell you exactly that information. So you'll know which classes you will need to physically attend and which classes you will be attending online. Once you get here, again, you will be given all that information with your schedule and with all that good stuff. Your instructors all have Moodle shells. So Moodle is our curriculum platform. All of your information that you need for the semester for each of your classes will be contained in that on that platform through Moodle, excuse me. So this is a typical class day for your kitchen classes. The other 2 days, again, will be different depending on which liberal arts classes you're in. If you got transfer credit, obviously, then your schedule would be a little bit different. So it's hard to say this is what your classes will look like because some people will be coming in with transfer credit. But in general, know that you'll have 2 days of kitchen classes and you'll have 2 days of liberal arts classes. Your classes will generally start at 7. Whether it's kitchen or liberal arts, whether it's in person or online. So know that you do have early morning starts. So if you're not a morning person, that is definitely something that you want to start working on and adjusting to, because you want to make sure that you're up, ready, and prepared to go. Does that answer your question about the class schedule a little bit?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I know that there's always, no matter what time, there's always a question about class schedules. And some of that is just like, trust the process. And once we get to orientation, when you guys get here, you'll understand, because I know their schedule that they see right now makes no sense at all.
It's very confusing. And this is the thing. Full disclosure, if we gave you access to Moodle and the schedule, I promise you probably have 100 more questions. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but we also want to give you that information in due time so that you don't get overwhelmed. But I promise your schedule will make sense. It is a very small campus, so you don't have to worry about, I don't know if you've seen those movies where there's like someone running across campus like 2 minutes before class starts because they don't know where to go. It's not a very large campus. We're all in one building. So there's always going to be someone with a gold badge who, if you're like, please tell me where the Eco Lab is, or please tell me where the Debon is, we'll be able to help you. So don't fret. I promise all of that will come in due time. But again, I know you've got all these questions about what it's going to look like, but no, you will have regular classes 4 days a week. And then on that Monday, you'll have your science lecture, and that will be on different days for different classes. So just be prepared for basically Tuesday through Friday with an occasional Monday. And it is early classes, yes.
And a couple of those classes will be online this semester.
That's correct. So for the liberal arts classes, I mean food safety, college writing, math foundations, and then professionalism and life skills. So those are the classes that we'll start out with. And for our bakers, it'll be a baking ingredients and equipment and technology class for them that will be mixed in there as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for explaining that. Jared, and I think you see probably the Q&A, lots of questions about the shuttles. Our students are amazing and so proactive in thinking it through. I love that. So how is the shuttle system going to work now with going back and forth from the residence halls to the campus, which is what, like a half a mile away, not even?
It's right around 3/4 of a mile from the front door of Greystone to the front door of the Vineyard Lodges. What I will let you know is that because of the fact that we're really focusing on student education and not having any guests to campus for the fall, if you are bringing a vehicle to campus and you live down at the Vineyard Lodges, we are going to encourage you, please drive your vehicle to campus. Make sure that you are taking the steps that you need to get to campus as you need to. For those of you who are taking a shuttle, not a problem. What has happened is there has been decreased occupancy in that shuttle, and we have demarcated with bright pink gaffing tape specific seats that you should be sitting in while you're riding that. This makes sure that we never have more students on campus, and we just have to acknowledge that, you know, a little bit of time getting to campus, we definitely have had conversations with our faculty and staff about understanding it might take a little more time getting in prepared into campus, especially if we're not having the full capacity of the shuttle running. But it is running. The shuttle is being sanitized throughout the course of the day, especially as we are moving from AM to PM.
Okay. And a couple follow-up questions in regards to the residence halls. What size beds, and do they need to bring like bathroom supplies? Any kitchens? Obviously with the communal kitchens right now not being in operation, do they need to bring, and Marie, you might want to chime into, in addition to what they receive with their toolkit, is there anything they need to extra that they need to bring? We always say kind of pack light.
And that is absolutely true for the fall semester. Make sure you're packing light. Make sure you bring what you need. The beds in the residence halls are all twin XLs. So if you are ordering sheets through OCM or you're ordering sheets through whatever vendor you're choosing to bring with you, it is absolutely an extra long twin is what you're going to be bringing. Now for the bathrooms, all of our residence halls in the Vineyard Lodges and in the guest house, those do have private baths for each of the rooms. There are a couple suites in the Vineyard Lodge 2 building that have 2 rooms that share, but generally speaking, there's private baths, and so you need to bring cleaning supplies and sanitating supplies for your personal space. There are not common area bathrooms like some of you who have prior college experience that many other colleges have. The off-site properties that we do manage those houses, there are communal bathrooms. It's a single family house, so it's what you'd see in a house. You'll just need to make sure you work with your housemates and a regular cleaning schedule in those spaces.
Great. Maria, for students who need a break during class, how does that work? You know, we have students with all different situations going on, and I know a couple that we have for new moms. And so are there breaks that how can we what would that process be? Does the student talk to you, or do they talk to their chef instructor?
The best thing would be to talk with me first, and that way we can establish what is going to be the most helpful for the students, so that way they're taking care of whatever personal needs they need to take care of, but they're also not missing the educational portion of class. So on an individual basis, I think that would probably be a really good personal conversation, and students are welcome to reach out to me. And like I said, we can set up a time through Microsoft Teams, which you should have access to now through your email and your Microsoft Office, but also we can give you a call. And I think just maybe making sure that we're addressing those questions. And then once we figure out sort of what that need is and what it's going to look like, then we would include the chef instructor. But any conversation that I have with a student regarding personal needs, whether it's an accommodation, whether it's a medical need, whether it's a food allergy or any of those things, all of that would be kept confidential.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And Jared, in regards to the attendance policy, great question here. If I have a fever the day of the class, what steps do I take afterwards? How do I make up missed time, homework? That could be maybe a Jared/Maria question, but Jared, if you want to kind of start to talk about the attendance policy during this unprecedented time.
So as part of our COVID-related processes, if you are not feeling well, and when you're filling out your daily checker, if you're having symptoms that are consistent with COVID, we want you to stay home. We want you to communicate with us. We want to make sure that you are taking the steps that you need to be safe and make sure that our campus is safe. What we will do is, if you are in private isolation because of concerns for COVID-related symptoms, then we will work very closely with you and your faculty to make sure that you can do as much makeup work as you possibly can based on the amount of time that you may need to be out of class based upon what symptoms you may be experiencing. I have the pleasure of managing that process here in California. So if a student does indicate they are having symptoms, have been exposed to somebody who has COVID, we communicate very closely and work very closely with those students and the faculty to make sure they take the steps necessary to self-isolate and to make sure that they can be supported through all of the faculty as well as the staff as they are navigating that process. Now, for extended periods of time outside of the class, we will be working with students on a case-by-case basis. And if you are out of class long enough that you cannot properly complete the coursework, then what would happen based on the new attendance policy is that you would withdraw from that class. You would be eligible to retake that class as long as you were out of class because of a COVID-related circumstance, and there would be no cost associated with that repeat. You still need to be exposed to the content. You still need to participate based on in-class participation, but we'll do our best to support you in that makeup work if you are put into isolation or quarantine because of symptoms.
And just to add on to that, the goal is to keep everyone safe and to keep the access to education as, I don't want to say easy, but as smooth as possible. And to do that, we really are depending on our students to be as honest as possible. And because we value their honesty, we're doing everything we can to work with them and to work with everyone on campus. And since we've been back open, our students have been awesome. Our students have really pitched in and have been committed to making our campus safe. And that's really what we want to emphasize. And when Allison said family, that's really what this campus is. It's a small campus. And so we want everyone to value their education and their time here. And that's why we're going to do everything we can to support everybody.
It's been awesome to see the accountability that the students and the staff and our faculty have all had. It's very difficult because we're just so happy to see one another. There's nothing more than we want to do than just to give them a high five or anything, just to be able to, talk to them face to face. And it is difficult, but the more important thing right now is to keep everyone safe, and so that we can continue to keep our campus open and continue to train up this next generation of food leaders. So. And Maria, for students who might be struggling in class, what is your advice? Should they drop if they're struggling? Do they talk to their teacher? Is there a minimum GPA that a student needs to continue to go forward with their time at the CIA?
So the CIA Cares is I touched on that briefly, and that students have the opportunity actually to send up a flag for themselves. Like, I'm struggling in this class and I don't know what to do. And what the first step is, I have a conversation with that student. Are you struggling with the work? Are you struggling with the timing of the class? Are you struggling with the content? Are you struggling with your overall workload? And then we will troubleshoot from there. Once we kind of figure out where the issue is, if it's content, we'll hook you up with the tutor. If it's timing, we'll work on some time management skills to make sure that maybe, when I say liberal arts classes, I mean the math and the writing and the food safety sometimes get pushed to the side, because I know our students are really excited about those bake shop and those culinary classes, but you know, our goal is to create a well-rounded student. So we need you to be able to do the math. We need you to be able to write professional emails when you want someone to invest in your awesome cafe. So looking at the bigger picture and understanding that there's a reason why we want you to pass all those courses. The graduation requirement is set, you know, so at a different situation, you would be able to pick and choose your classes. Well, we've laid them all out for you, so you don't have to worry about figuring out what's going to be the best route for you. That route is already set. And so making sure that you stay on that path and doing everything that you can to pass those classes and earn those grades is going to be what's best for you. The first semester GPA requirement is a 1.75, and then beyond that, it's a 2.0. If a student is struggling in a class, like I said, I will get an alert and I will talk to that person and we'll figure out the best plan for them. If that means dropping a class, then we drop a class, but the understanding has to come with the fact that that class would have to be replaced in another semester unless a student was to come in with transfer credit. And if you have transfer credit, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you take care of that now, because once a course has started, it's much more difficult, and it's definitely not guaranteed that you'd receive transfer credit for a particular course once you've begun it.
Very good point, definitely. And we're still expecting, you know, we're working with the CIA books, and those that have, ordered their books. We're hearing that they're running on time. Is there any new updated information that you can give about that?
I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but worst case scenario, if your books did not arrive when you needed them, we have copies of all of the textbooks in the library. Mm-hmm. So we obviously request that you hang out in here or in the VC or relatively close by, that you sign out the book and then bring it back. We are a trust-based library, so we have a tremendous collection here on campus. There's no buzzer that goes off when you walk out. There's no alarm that, you know, sounds when you try to leave with the book. So we are all very trusting here. So if you do need a textbook, we will obviously allow you to use ours if yours don't arrive in time.
Wonderful. I know you eased a lot of people's minds. I know we have only time for a few more questions. There is definitely the question, Jared, about room sharing. So of course, that's going to be on everybody's mind of those that are going to college this fall. So are students, you know, currently sharing rooms? How does that work? The floor plans, can students distance? Can you kind of touch on a little bit of that?
So we are basing the student density based on the floor plans of the residence hall room. So for the fall semester, there will be a very limited number of singles, which have already been assigned based on my understanding, doubles as well as triples. Now, what we're doing our best to do is to only assign incoming new students with incoming new students, and we're consolidating our returning students with returning students. Now, in a perfect world, it would always be that way, but in order to provide housing to the number of students who are requesting it, there will be students living with other students for the fall semester. As you are assigned rooms, please make sure you're checking your StarRes portal. That should give you roommate information, and we would always encourage you to reach out to your roommates, communicate about what your needs are in terms of what you're bringing to campus, but also speak with them about, you know, real expectations as you are living in a room with someone with whom you may not have met before. As part of the onboarding, when you get to campus on that very first day, we'll begin conversations about roommate agreements, and we want you to work with the people whom you're going to be living with to set really concrete expectations about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and how your life is going to be living together. What the cleaning schedule would be like. The rooms are set so that you are socially distant while you're in bed, and those are some of the things we would encourage you to talk with your roommates about as we're getting to campus for the fall semester.
Okay, great. And for our students who are living off campus, I will just interject, the same meal plan applies, correct, Jared? For our students.
Correct. So whether you are a residential student or whether you're a commuter student, you are entitled to the same meal plan, which is the 2 meals on each instructional day.
And I know you as a resident of St. Helena, how far does it take to go to the campus to the other side of St. Helena? We have a couple students who live off campus. We say this because we're laughing only because the town is very small. And of course, when you've not been there, you don't realize how small it is. It's very bike friendly, very walkable. We definitely we advise, encourage students to spend time outside, get out of the kitchen every once in a while, breathe. And could you kind of touch on a little bit of like what the dimensions of the town, just for our off-campus students?
From one far extreme of the urban limit, which is where the Greystone campus is, to the furthest extreme south of the urban limit, it is an entirety of less than 2 miles. The main drag of St. Helena is, I would say, maybe about 3/4 of a mile long, and that is including all the shops and resources. So we are a very quaint 8,000 person small town. It's, to me, one of the benefits of living in a beautiful place like this is it's really a small town, and everything is very accessible, especially if you're bringing a bike, which you can register your bike in the residence halls with Zachary Davis, our residence life and housing coordinator. And there are bike racks available outside of the guest house and the vineyard lodges to lock up your bike. You can also store that in your room if you choose to. What we're asking is you do not violate fire code and egress. You have to maintain at least 36 inches to get out of your room if you do have your bike in your room.
And Jared, just a follow-up, what are the current rules or guidelines for students? Let's say they have family or friends that live close by, or if they want to see their family on the weekends, also with winter and spring breaks. How is that going to look for this fall so far?
So right now, based on everything that we know, we would caution any unnecessary travel outside of Napa County. And if you are going to be interacting with individuals who are outside of our population bubble, i.e. the students of campus, its faculty, and its staff, we would want you to maintain social distancing, to wear a mask and sanitize your hands as frequently as possible through any of that. As part of the CIA Safe Pledge, you are asked to sign that you will not be traveling unnecessarily outside of the county, and we want to make sure that you are staying local. Because of that, we do have programming on the weekends. We have resources for you on the weekends, but we would encourage you to limit unnecessary travel outside of the county. For the winter break coming up, there may be an ability to request intersession housing, to stay in housing for that period of time, so that if you don't have the ability to get home or would like to stay on campus, there is a process that you can request to do so for the times that school is not in session. More information on the winter intersession practice will be available as we get towards the end of October, early November.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I know we are headed to the conclusion, unfortunately, because I think we could continue to do this probably until about 7 p.m. tonight, the amount of questions, and they're great questions, and they're all so relevant. And just to kind of remind everyone, if there are a lot of questions that we just didn't have a chance to get to in this short amount of time, and we will be in touch with you by email. We'll let you know those answers to those questions. But last question, Maria, I think you'd be a great person to answer this. Less than a month before our students arrive, and they're nervous, but they're super excited. This is something that they've dreamed of for a very, very long time, no matter the age or walk of life. What, being there for 10 years and being so, close with our students, what advice would you give a student, and then what advice would you give to their support team, getting ready to come here?
I think my first piece of advice to a student is being nervous is good. It means it matters. It means it counts. I think making sure that you're managing that nervousness is what's going to be really important. Again, really thinking about what your ultimate goal is while you're here. Figuring out, again, what you personally need, really taking that time to self-reflect on what is going to be the most beneficial for you to help you be successful. I can give you as many tools as you need, I promise. I got a giant toolbox full of information, but it has to come from you. So really taking the time to figure out this is my ultimate goal while I'm here. Maybe it's to have perfect attendance. Maybe it's to earn a certain GPA. Maybe it's to master a particular dish or a particular recipe, or maybe it's to excel in a particular cuisine. Whatever it is that is your goal, think about that. And then I always tell students, move backwards. Think about that goal, and then think about the steps that you're going to take, that you're going to need to take to reach that goal, and move backwards and look at this as that beginning, but really keeping that end goal in sight. And so for me, that means, again, reading up as much as you can. Figure out what you're anxious about and see if you can't get answers to those questions. Maybe it's living in a small town. Do some research on St. Helena. Maybe it's, what are my chef instructors going to be like? Do some research on your chef instructors. Maybe it's, I'm nervous about a particular class. Read up on that information. So whatever you can do to inform yourself, I think, is the most important thing you can do before you get here, to make sure that you're feeling comfortable and ready to start your program. As far as the support system, I think understanding that there will be days where there might be tears on the phone or through FaceTime. There might be days where you don't talk to that person because they're so busy. But I think always just being there, being positive and supporting their endeavors, and understanding that this is a tough program, and it's pretty awesome that they're here and that they're getting to be involved, and know that they also have a support system here on campus as long as they're willing to utilize it.
Well said. Thank you all.
Sure.
Thank you again so much for joining us today, and thank you to our panelists, Maria and Jared. We appreciate all of your questions. There were a ton, and they were all wonderful questions. So if you submitted a question and we weren't able to answer, a member of our team will be in contact with you right after this session. So be sure that you will hear from us today, at latest tomorrow, with your answers. Please also note that this session has been recorded and will be available on our website. So thank you so much for attending today's session, and we can't wait to see you very, very soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.